Welcome to the Killshot MMA podcast for UFC Vegas 104 at the mighty Apex. I am Monk. Sniper is out of town this week, enjoying a hopefully, fantastic vacation with his family. In the meantime, I've got you guys covered. 13 fights on this card. Going to break it all down from a DFS/stat perspective. Coming off a fun pay-per-view week for sure with the and new in the light heavyweight division. I may have been the only one on DFS Army that picked Ankalaev. Maybe. I'm just saying. Hey. Man, Gaethje Fiziev was fantastic. Jalen Turner possibly retires. I was very wrong on Yasmin Lucindo. Did not expect Amanda Lemos to wrestle the hell out of her for 3 rounds, basically. Mauricio Hoofy freaking exploded King Green's consciousness. Joshua Van, very good performance, but didn't even score 70 points. Bruno with the round 2 knockout. First finish outside of the first round for Bruno in the UFC. Carlos Leal goes huge over Alex Morono. Marshall robbery? ? He was not very happy. I was wrong on Osman Diaz. Jordan Santos just let him, punch the shit out of him for the last 2 rounds. So not a bad week overall, but we are not done. Let's get into UFC Vegas 104. I'll try to keep it short, sweet, and informative for you guys. And hopefully we won't be talking about any of these fights for 10 minutes. Before we start, please hit the like on the video. We over at DFS Army would greatly appreciate it. Hit the subscription as well. DFS Army covers a ton of sports, and by a ton, I mean every sport. We've got ball sports, field sports, esports, everything that car sports, track sports, anything that you need, we have got you covered. So get on over to dfsarmy.com and check it out. Let's get into UFC Vegas 104. First fight of the night, we've got Carly Judice taking on Eunice Duban. If you haven't heard by now, or if you don't remember, Eunice Duban was a plus 1,000 favorite in her Dana White Contender Series fight. She landed a round 1, minute 1 knockout over Shannon Clark, I believe, who is a minus 2,000 favorite on that fight. And before that, she had fought no one with any kind of record at all. All 5 of her opponents were 0-0, and then she gets a plus 1,000 win on the Contender Series, and now she is here. But I digress. Carly, minus 400. Duban is plus 330. Fight goes to decision, minus 150. Now by let's, I mean me, and I'll talk about it. Let's take a look at Carly Judice's stats. She has had 1 UFC fight, and that was against Gabby Fernandez, who has since looked very good against Kong Wang, I do believe. Finished her, I think, in the second round, if I'm remembering correctly. But she went to a split decision with Carly Judice. Judice didn't do, I'm not going to say that. She did more than just strike. She landed 2 takedowns, had a minute of control time, but most significantly, 11.27 strikes per minute was landed by Carly Judice on Gabby Fernandez. She also ate almost 8 strikes a minute. 119 significant strikes were absorbed by Carly in that one, but the volume is crazy. She would have scored 83 points. 82.92 without the bonus. Not would have. She did score 82.92. Didn't get a bonus since she lost. But if she would have won decision fight, it would have been 112, almost 113 points. Guys, she might not have much power, but the volume numbers alone and the inexperience of Duban make this a very good fight to target, in my opinion, basically in all formats. 9,300 is a bit much. I understand. For a women's flyweight fighter, for any fighter for that matter, but especially someone that mainly just throws strikes. But it was promising that she mixed in a couple of takedowns. She shot 4, got 2, only ended up with a minute of control time, but still, that is promising. But that potential score, even in a loss, is too much to overlook. I'm looking for her round-by-round stats. She landed, 12.6 strikes a minute in the first, just 5.4 in the second, but that is the round in which she landed both of her takedowns and secured almost all of her control time. So obviously it's going to slow down a bit, but 5.4 per minute is still nothing to sneeze at, as they say. I don't know who says that, but I just did. Round 3, it's back up, and I mean 10 strikes a minute. Joshua Van numbers here, 193% over her round 2, 15.8 strikes a minute. And that's how she scored all those points, guys. Eunice Duban, we have 1 minute of stats on her. If you really want to hear it, she landed 20 strikes a minute, guys. 25 strikes in a minute and 13 seconds and that knockdown. So obviously, I'm going to be playing Carly Judice in basically all formats. I don't think Duban is going to do this twice in a row. So I'm pretty much going to full fade Duban. And if she beats me again with some crazy overhand, then hey, I probably deserve it. But yeah, very minimal GPP ownership for Eunice Duban for myself, and a decent amount of ownership. I'm not going like all in on this fight. I'm not going 5% and 95, but I'll have a decent amount of Carly Judice. There are some interesting 9K plays out there this week, and a few of them, hopefully, you know, a couple of them might get beat, but a few of them might definitely go overlooked. So hoping Judice is one of them. Not sure if it's going to be the case, but I love the volume, and I love her chances on Eunice Duban. Finish or not, I think she scores very well. Next fight, Josiane Nunes taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. The fight everyone cannot wait for. Let's see, minus 175 for Nunes, plus 150 for Priscilla Cachoeira. The over is minus 190. Fight ends inside the distance is plus 140. So the odds makers say this one is going to go the distance, and that is an extremely interesting take for a Priscilla Cachoeira fight because she's been finished several times. I mean, 4 times professionally, I should say, all 4 times in the UFC, but all 4 times have been by submissions. So that probably explains the goes the distance prop, as Josiane Nunes has never submitted anyone. She is, as you know, 5'2" with the longest arms anyone that's 5'2" has ever had. Priscilla has a 5-inch height advantage, and she has a 2-inch reach disadvantage to Josiane Nunes. Now, Priscilla, I mean, we all know about Priscilla. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and nobody takes points. Outside of last week, I was shocked when whoever was it Mark Smith? That's even more shocking. Took a point from Armin Petrosian. Am I remembering this correctly? I was shocked. So good to see that, but until that starts happening consistently, you better still be cheating. Priscilla landing under 3 strikes a minute in round 1, 3.2 in round 2, and then 6.13 in round 3. She gets hit so much. 5.5 strikes a minute in the first, 7.3 in the second, and almost 10 strikes a minute, guys, in the third round. I mean, how bad did Jasmine Jasudavicius fuck up her stats? That's probably part of it, but still, it's ridiculous. Josiane Nunes, I mean, she's 3-2 coming off of 2 losses, just like Priscilla is coming off of 2 losses. But Priscilla's losing to Jillian Robertson, Miranda Maverick, Double J, Jasmine Jasudavicius. Josiane Nunes is losing to Chelsea Chandler and Jacqueline Cavalcanti. No shade on Cavalcanti, some shade on Chelsea Chandler, but her wins in the UFC, guys, Bea Malecki, Ramona Pasquale, and Zara Fairn. I mean, it's always impressive to see knockout from of somebody that's 5'2" in the featherweight division at the time, but I think the novelty has started to wear off. Josiane has started to fight a little bit better competition. She also is down at bantamweight instead of 145, and she is at 2 losses so far. So not looking very impressive. No knockdowns. I mean, against Bea Malecki, almost 5 minutes, 10.6 strikes a minute. Against Ramona Pasquale, 6.5 strikes a minute over 15 minutes. And Zara Fairn, 6.8 strikes a minute over 15 minutes. Then she drops weight. She fights Chelsea Chandler, 3 strikes a minute. She fights Cavalcanti, 3.5 strikes a minute. I mean, it's not the same fighter at all. So how can we have much confidence here? And we have to pay what? I'm sorry, I didn't even say the DraftKings salaries. Who was it? Carly Judice was 9,300, and her opponent was 6,900. That would have been Duban. In this fight, Josiane Nunes is 8,500. Yeah, ridiculous. And 190, minus 190. At least she was earlier today when I checked the odds. And Priscilla, actually, no, minus 175. I got it right here on the screen. Sorry, guys. I'm not used to this whole hosting the DFS Army show thing, but I'll get the hang of it one day. I've only been, doing it for a couple of years. Not hosting, but good Lord, you know what I'm saying. Actually, I don't know what I was saying now. Yeah. Josiane Nunes, 8,500. Priscilla Cachoeira, 7,700. So I like the underdog here. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is an extremely low-level, high-variance women's bantamweight fight, so anything could happen, but I'm siding with Cachoeira mostly because of the strength of schedule, who she's been fighting. who she's been losing to, who she's been beating. Everyone she's beaten is better than all of Josiane Nunes' wins, maybe combined, and that's saying a lot. Josiane Nunes hasn't fought too many good people at all, and Priscilla is only losing to the best. So, and by best, I mean like upper tier of the division. Now, she is fighting up a weight class. Was her last fight. Last thing I'll say, she did fight Jasmine at bantamweight, but before that, the Silva fight was bantamweight, but she has mostly been at 125. So keep an eye on the scale for both of these women on Friday. But yeah, my pick is Cachoeira. I think she's the better DraftKings play too, and I don't think it's close. I probably already said last thing I'll say, but last thing I'll say, Priscilla in finish wins 107.9 points. In decision wins, not so good, 76.61. So you want her to get it done and get it done early. But yeah, I favor Cachoeira. She might be too expensive to get too big on GPPs, but I don't really like Nunes at all here. Maybe a little bit in GPPs because Cachoeira gets finished, but again, only by submission. Nunes has no subs. Here we've got Andre Lima taking on Daniel Perez. Andre Lima minus 350. Daniel Perez plus 285. Fight goes the distance minus 170. So another one that Vegas thinks is going all three, and probably not a bad look, to be quite honest. Let's see. Lima, $9,000 on DraftKings. Daniel Perez, $7,200. And these are the flyweights, the little buff boys. Here we go. Andre Lima, quietly 3-0 in the UFC, 10-0 overall in his career. Beat Igor Severino. That was the DQ, the bite fight. Then he beats Mitch Raposo and Felipe Dos Santos, both by decision. Yes, I do believe. But the scoring is not good. 90 points in the Severino fight, and he got what? That was, what round was that? Second round. So, 70 of that came as bonus. So he scored 19 points in, 8 minutes, basically. Not the best look. That's 2.46 points a minute. 50 points total in the Mitch Raposo fight, 1.39 points a minute, and 68.4 against Felipe Dos Santos, which was probably his best outing so far. I believe, let's see, he was 2 for 2 on takedowns, 9 minutes of control time, but still only landed 1.2 strikes a minute and just 25 non-significant strikes. So you're on the ground for 9 minutes. You have 9 minutes of control time, I should say, and you only have 25 non-significant strikes paired with 1.2 strikes a minute. That's, borderline unacceptable. I'm not expecting him to come out here against Daniel Perez and put up triple digits. So already at 9K, I am very questionable about how much Andre Lima I want in my lineups, especially when I could pay $100 more, especially when I could pay $100 more and get, Kevin Vallejos on my and get Kevin Vallejos in my lineup. So yeah, that's probably where I'd be looking. Daniel Perez had Chafel Filo dead to rights pretty much in the first few minutes of his debut, and then got subbed after landing 5.24 strikes per minute and a knockdown on Filo. So that is never good, but he did score decently. I believe it was like 17 points. Let me see. Yeah, 17 and a half. Then he comes back, beats Victor Altamirano, middle of the road featherweight. Middle of the road flyweight, 71 DraftKings points. I mean, these are Andre Lima numbers right here. So yeah, not great as far as Daniel Perez performance for DraftKings. I mean, both guys have shown decent defense, except for, Daniel Perez just completely losing it at the end of the first round there, I guess in the last, minute and a half. But Andre Lima has shown very good defense. Neither guy has fought very good UFC competition. So that is what I'm interested in. I'm very interested in this one from a competition standpoint, but from a DraftKings perspective, I really don't have much interest at all. I think I put fade for Andre Lima, maybe cash fade, the rare cash fade tag. It's pretty rare that I give that out, but the offense, the striking offense, everything is just kind of meh. Like, while he has looked good, he's controlled fights, he's not given up a ton of stuff, strikes absorbed, takedowns, control time, stuff like that. In the end, the value's just not there for 9K. So I'll have a little bit of Perez in GPPs, but I think this is going to be a Lima decision, and I'm going to play it like that. So I'll be looking to get under the field probably as a whole for this one, but I will, like I said, have a little bit of Daniel Perez. But again, I haven't said it, 36 years old, a 36-year-old prospect in the flyweight division. How much interest do we have there? Last thing I'll say, there is a 10-year age gap here. Anytime there's been a difference of 10 years in the flyweight division, Well, not any time, but 7 wins, 1 loss. It's happened 8 times, 4 times in the past 5 years, and the younger man is 4-0. So that could be an interesting trend. I have Andre Lima by boring decision, 70-point win, if that. And like I said, cash fade. We'll keep it moving. Next fight, Josias Musasa making his UFC debut as a -900 favorite. The comeback on Carlos Vera +600. Fight ends inside the distance -220. It is +130 to go under 1.5 rounds. Musasa 9,400. I believe he is now not now, but he's the second most expensive fighter on the card for DraftKings, but the highest, the fighter with the widest value, the widest implied odds, I should say. Carlos Vera 6,800. I'm going to try not to take too long on this one. 5 minutes a fight seems to be a bit too long already. I don't want you guys here for an hour and a half. Vera had the unfortunate task of facing Rinya Nakamura in his first fight. Wasn't able to do anything. Got the chance to do absolutely nothing. Was taken down 3 times, I believe, once a round. Controlled for 13 of 15 minutes. He landed 12 strikes total. Rinya landed 38. That was about it. He was working off of his back for 13 minutes or for 15 minutes, and what work was there didn't actually help his cause whatsoever. So not much to look at for Carlos Vera. Josias Musasa beat Otari Tanzalov in the Dana White Contender Series. Split decision. He would have scored, let's see here, 69.78 points in that split decision. What did he do? 3.33 strikes a minute, 1-for-1 takedowns, controlled Otari for just over 4 minutes. Did land 36% of his significant strikes to the body, and he also had 37 non-significant strikes. So decent amount of points in striking, but it just wasn't enough over 15 minutes to put up any kind of meaningful score. Like I said, he is -900. My goodness. I'm going to have to look at some props here. I mean, Vera, again, one fight worth of stats for him. For me, takedown and control defense is shot to shit because of Rinya Nakamura, but his significant striking defense wasn't terrible overall, and that's just because Rinya didn't really throw much. I mean, 48% defense in the first, 52% defense in the third. He only got hit with 0.8 strikes a minute in the third round. What's that, 4 strikes from Rinya Nakamura? Sorry. That's what Carlos landed. He got hit with 2 strikes a minute. 10 strikes. Didn't mean to disparage the high volume of Rinya Nakamura in that third round. But, give me Josias Musasa. I don't know if it's going to be a decision or not. 9,400. You are really gambling to just throw this guy in your GPP lineups, even against Vera. Like I said, I mean, he got smashed, demolished by Rinya Nakamura, but he lasted all 15 minutes. Rinya scored, I think, 90 points in that one. Let me just double check. So nothing crazy. He scored, 90.69 points at 9,600. So he did not make the optimal lineup. Could we see a repeat? Probably not. Musasa probably going to, be more striking forward, but who knows? He did land 1 takedown, had 4 minutes of control time. Not a ton of volume, though, so it is risky at 9,400 to play Musasa with just 8 pro fights, even if it is against a guy who looked like absolute dog shit against one of the seemingly better bantamweight prospects that we have in Nakamura. So I think Vera's worth a little bit more than a punt, but not anything crazy, and I will be probably under the field on Musasa. Not because I doubt his skills or his ability to finish Vera, but just because I haven't seen it, and I'd like to throw my salary towards things that more of a sure thing. Maybe in GPPs, I'll have some Musasa, of course, obviously. But, if the field's going to be like 30-40%, I don't know if I could get that high. So I want to see it from Josias first, and let's keep it moving. Dair Nurgajai, I probably did not say that correctly at all, taking on Brenson Ribeiro. Nurgajai -365, huge favorite over Ribeiro at +290. The fight ends inside the distance -175. The over 1.5 rounds -145, and that is a bit interesting. Quickly, let's see. Nurgajai is 8,900 this week, and Ribeiro is 7,300. So a big favorite for a guy with 10 pro fights. Who did he fight in the Dana White Contender Series? Bartosz Szuzik. That's probably close. 3.5 strikes a minute. defended a takedown, was controlled for 15 seconds. It was basically a boring 8-minute finish in which DR would have scored 92 points. So nothing really spectacular. The most interesting thing is Brentson Hibetto, while being 1-2 in the UFC and having just really kind of awful defense, has made it difficult, other than the GOAT, Jingming Yang, who finished him early. Gadzi Zulov was supposed to kind of smash him, I think. What was his salary that week? Gadzi Zulov. I was going to say 9,400, 9,300, and he went to majority decision with Brentson Hibetto. It was a very lackluster fight. I mean, Brentson landed 1.13 strikes a minute. That's 17 total, and he only got hit with 26. He did get 5 takedowns landed against him, but he was also 3 for 6 on takedowns with 2 minutes of control time of his own on Magomed Gadzhizulov, but he did give up 10 minutes of control time back. Then he comes back, wins against Caio Machado in an extremely boring fight, which he didn't even score 50 points. I think it was 49.8. So yeah, maybe Brentson Hibetto, if he's not fighting the GOAT, Jingming Yang, maybe he takes Nurgazai all 10 minutes, or all 10 minutes, all 15 minutes, and gets him a shitty little decision win. So GPP fight, obviously, Dyer, you're going to be playing him. I believe he's got 5 or 6 KOs out of his 10 wins. 6 of them, yep, and 2 submissions. Brentson Hibetto has been finished by KO TKO 3 times and twice by submission. So obviously you're playing Nurgazai at 8,900. I like that he's not 9K, but still it is expensive for a debutante. But it's risky, but it could pay off if he gets Hibetto out of there, kind of like Jingming Yang. If he does not get him out of there in the first round, I would be kind of surprised if he scores well. Could be a classic. Brentson Hibetto goes to 15 minutes and nobody scores well. So it is risky. Average amount for me in Nurgazai and Hibetto. The Machado fight, like I said, less than 50 points. We're not doing anything with volume at all. We don't have anything else much going for us. I mean, 3 of 6 takedowns in the Gadzi Zulov fight. Maybe there's a chance he puts it together. So I'll have minimal ownership of Hibetto at 7,300, maybe like 10%. Nurgazai probably 2.5, 3 times that is kind of what I'm thinking. So give me Nurgazai for the pick. I know one of these favorites, prospects, debutantes that I've picked is going to lose. It's inevitable. I think I picked 3 dogs this week, but I don't know if any of them are fighting debutantes. So that's just kind of how it goes. We will see. I think we're going to get to one of them in the next fight. Next fight, Stephanie Luciano taking on Sam Page Hughes. Sam is plus 190. Stephanie Luciano, the favorite, at minus 225. The under 2.5 rounds is plus 425. Over is minus 600. And fight ends inside the distance is a plus 375. I'm picking the underdog here, Sam Hughes. I know she's 4-5, but she has the cardio, she has the durability, and she will absolutely fight for your money. She might have, like I said, 4-5 record, but in her last 6, she is 4-2, losing to Piera Rodriguez, Yasmin Uregi, beating Estela Nunes. Who doesn't? Elise Reed, very good performance against Elise Reed. Very good performance against Jacqueline Emerim, in which everybody picked her to lose, and then beat Victoria Dudikova as well. Now, she's putting up decent numbers in these decision wins. 6.5 strikes a minute, 5.5 strikes a minute, 4.6, 5.0. I mean, she's landed takedowns against Reed. Emerim, she had 7 minutes of control time, surprisingly, against Emerim. She increases every one of her stats: significant strikes landed per minute, takedowns landed per 5, and control time landed per 5 in each and every round, starting at like 3.5 strikes a minute, 4.5 in round 2, and 5.2 in round 3. And again, takedowns, control time also going up in every round. On top of that, her defensive numbers get better every single round in all 3 of those categories as well. She allows 5 strikes a minute in the first, 4.6 in the second, and 3.76 in the third. I mean, just fantastic numbers from Sam Hughes. She's never going to fight for a title, but if you are an up-and-coming strawweight, you are going to fight Sam Hughes, and you might lose. That's just all there is to it. She's looked pretty good recently. A lot of people, she's never been a favorite. She's been a dog 9 straight times in the UFC, and her record as a dog minus 114 or wider is 4-5. So 27% ROI for Sam Hughes, in case you're interested in that. Meanwhile, Stephanie Luciano, has lost to Talita Alankar in her Dana White Contender Series fight, and then turned her game around, beat Talita in her next fight after she was in the UFC. Stuffed 9 takedowns, landed 72 strikes, 4.8 a minute, and controlled her for about a minute of the fight. She didn't score very well. I believe it was 70 something. Yeah, 73.9. Just at 8,500. She didn't even 10x, didn't even 9x. Meanwhile, Sam Hughes is out here, 81 points, 83 points, 121, 91, and this is all at like 7,700, 7,200, 77, 73. So again, we're getting her at big dog money, 7,400. Love her durability, her cardio. I think this is going all 3 rounds, and win or lose, Sam Hughes is going to put up a serviceable score, and she always has a chance to win that split decision, even a unanimous decision, especially against some of these prospects, especially against someone who only has 8 professional fights. I mean, come on. Sam Hughes has so much UFC octagon time. It's crazy. So she'll fight for your money, and she's going to fight for mine on Saturday. I don't care about the 7-year age gap. Let's go Sam Hughes. I love her in all formats. Stephanie Luciano, maybe a bit in GPPs, but I'm not too confident in her score, especially with the durability of Sam Hughes. Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Ryan Spann. That's right, Ryan Spann is moving up to heavyweight for this fight, and he is a plus 140 dog to the minus 160 of Waldo Cortez Acosta. The over 1.5 for this heavyweight fight is minus 180, and fight ends inside the distance, however, is also minus 180. Let's get into this one. I mean, the stats for Waldo Cortez Acosta, nothing crazy. In fact, it's a little bit better than I thought, though. Lands 3.82 strikes a minute in the first, then it jumps 61% to 6.16 in the second, and then goes even further, 6.28 in the third. There's not much takedown, per 5 minutes for Costa. About a minute of control time in the first, and then 30 seconds or so in the second and third. Ryan Spann, not quite as much volume, surprisingly. 2.6 strikes a minute in the first, 3.8 in the second, and 4.2 in the third. So he is increasing steadily over all 3 rounds, but his control time is a little bit better than Cortez Acosta everywhere, and some of that is probably on the ground too, as Ryan Spann has knocked out 3 people in the UFC, gotten 3 subs, but has also been finished by TKO twice and sub twice as well. So lots of finishes in Ryan Spann fights. I believe that's 10 of them out of 13 UFC fights total. Loves going for that guillotine and has found a few finishes with it. Waldo Cortez Acosta, though, I think his style is just going to shut Ryan Spann down. He's been consistently weighing in at 260 pounds or more. What's Ryan Spann going to weigh in at on Friday? Like 240? I don't know, man. I think he's going to be giving up at least 20 pounds. I don't think Cortez Acosta puts himself in too many bad positions. He's 5-1 in the UFC. His only loss is coming to Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who just popped for steroids. So, but yeah, he stuffed 4 out of 7 takedowns in that one. Still got controlled for 5 minutes, but did what he could. Landed 5.5 strikes a minute to Marcos's 4, and just couldn't get it done. So I just think he's too defensively sound. I think he's very good at making adjustments in his game. For instance, when he fought Rebellas de Spain, all of a sudden he's throwing 4 takedowns. He didn't even throw 4 takedowns combined in the UFC. In fact, he only threw 1, and that was against Rogerio de Lima. Then all of a sudden he's facing a guy that can take your head off with 1 shot, and he's adjusting his game, lowering his strikes per minute, taking himself out of danger, and going for the ground game to get Despain off of his feet, neutralizing his power, controlling him for 10 minutes. Very, very smart fighter. It's not the most exciting thing. He doesn't score the best. What are we looking at for scores? 99 against Despain, but that was because of the ground game. Less than 50 against Arlovsky. 106 against Breshke, but that was the one he turned him around in. 89 against Sherman, 59 against Vandera. So we're not looking for a gigantic score at 8,300. We might not need it, but I am picking Cortez Acosta to slow down the game of Ryan Spann and kind of do what he always does. Makes his opponents go at his pace, and that's how he wins fights. Kind of a point fight style. 15-minute fight, unanimous decision. 49-48, maybe, or 29-28, or maybe even 30-27 for Costa. All he has to do is, not put himself in bad positions, which he doesn't do normally, and don't get guillotined. There you go. Next fight, this one will not take very long, and I forgot to switch the odds. Give me 1 second. We've got Su Young Yu taking on A.J. Cunningham. And for some reason, this won't open. There we go. U is minus 625. Cunningham plus 450. The fight ends inside the distance, minus 160. And I wonder why. AJ Cunningham, who did he fight? Yeah, Ludovic Klein. My goodness, on super short notice. Ludovic put up 135 points in 4 minutes on this dude. I mean, he landed 60 strikes in 4 minutes. 2 of 3 takedowns, Ludovic Klein. AJ Cunningham had no answer. Obviously, there's levels to this, and one level was way up here and the other one way down there. But the only light in that fight for AJ Cunningham, he did land 36 strikes, 7.8 per minute. That's pretty good, especially against Ludovic Klein, right? So I guess there's some positive there, but not much. I've heard everybody saying AJ Cunningham shouldn't even be here, shouldn't have even been in the last one, and I see no reason to argue with that. What is his career numbers? He's 11-4 as a pro. Let's see, 4 knockouts, 4 subs. Those are wins, by the way, and both of his finish losses are both KO TKOs. One of them was in his last fight to Ludovic Klein. Meanwhile, Su Young Yu has fought a few fights on Road to UFC, I believe. Fought Judice, I hope that's close, in his in his debut fight, UFC. Didn't really do much offensively. 2 for 5 takedowns, almost 5 minutes of control time, but just 42 strikes over 15 minutes. Let's see. He scored 73.98 points. That is not really what we are looking for. 22% under the featherweight average, 13% under the featherweight average in decisions. So we'd like to see a finish from Su Young Yu. And I forgot to say his DraftKings salary, most expensive fighter on the card at $9,500. Not really what we're looking for a prospect here, but he is fighting another prospect and one that is probably not very good. Probably a rightfully minus 500 favorite, but at the same time, I'm not trusting either of these guys. Obviously, you're not playing this in cash. You could play Su Young Yu at 9,500. I figured he would be 9,800 this week, so you're probably saving money. AJ Cunningham is a tremendously low punt. I really don't think he should be here. Su Young Yu probably finds a first-round finish, and that's what we will go with. Let's see. 3 KOs in his pro career, 5 subs. So, his nickname is Jiu-Jitsu. So, yeah, maybe we'll see a sub from Su Young Yu, maybe a club and sub type scenario. Get us some, a knockdown point, maybe a takedown point, something like that, and then finish him off with the round 1 submission. That would be fantastic. So, it is a bit risky, but it's not the most risky thing ever. And at 9,500, yeah, I think you can get this guy in your lineups pretty easily, and I don't trust AJ Cunningham as far as I could throw him, and that's probably not very far. So Su Young Yu probably by finish. Next fight, Damone Blackshear taking on Cody Gibson. Damone minus 460 to Cody Gibson's plus 360. The over 2.5 rounds is minus 205, and fight goes to decision minus 180. So they are expecting not too many finishes in this fight. Let's see, Damone Blackshear, fantastic offense all around. Like, he's not really lacking anywhere. Nothing is great, but nothing is less than average by any means. Now, his defense, on the other hand, that is lacking a bit in basically every category, especially distance striking, body striking defense, clinch striking defense, very much lacking. However, when we talk about who Damone Blackshear has faced, that might make a little bit more sense. Meanwhile, Cody Gibson, not quite as good offensively. He's hit or miss in some categories, not as consistent as Damone Blackshear, but his defense is a little bit better statistically. But again, when we look at the guys who they're fighting, that will kind of explain some of that. So Damone Blackshear is losing to Farid Basharat, Mario Batista, Montel Jackson. Cody Gibson is losing to, let's see, which era Cody Gibson do we want to look at? Miles Johns was his most recent loss. That's not a bad loss, but Miles Johns, not a world beater. Lost to Brad Katona as well, and then before that, we're way back in 2015, so we don't really care. But his wins, Chad Anheliger and Brian Kelleher, and Damone Blackshear's beating, he's going to a draw against Yusuf Zalal before Zalal found that potion that made him good. He's beaten Luan Lacerda, Jose Johnson, and Cody Stamen. And he's scoring okay, I believe, while he's doing it. Let's take a look. 100 points against Stamen, 65 in the Batista loss. That's not bad. 114 against Johnson, 114 against Lacerda. So not too terrible there. 42 in the loss against Basharat. Cody Gibson, 92 and 110 in his last wins. Look, I think Blackshear is the much more consistent fighter. His strength of schedule is much better than Cody Gibson's. That's why I think his defensive numbers look the way they do. And I think he's just the better fighter all around. I see a Blackshear decision. To be quite honest, I'm not really looking for a finish. The salaries here, I keep forgetting to say them. One day I'll figure this out. 9,200 for Damone Blackshear and 7K for Gibson. So Gibson is worth a shot in GPPs, that's for sure. But 7-year age gap, Blackshear I think is just the more well-rounded fighter, probably the better technical fighter in basically every aspect. Let's see what kind of takedowns these guys are landing. Cody lands 0.72 in the first, 1 in the second, and 0.4 in the third. Blackshear 1.23, 0.53, and then no takedowns in the third. That third round is very not good for Blackshear. It's not good for Cody Gibson either, but I think round 1 and 2 are going to be very important for Damone. If he doesn't get a finish, he's going to have to lock those 2 rounds up for the judges, and then a 29-28 would be in the cards here. I think it's average ownership as far as GPP goes for both sides, but if we're thinking cash, I'm thinking Damone Blackshear. 9,200 is a bit much for what we could get. However, it could be a bit of a contrarian play. We've got some interesting plays above him, and right below him is someone we're going to talk about in a fight or two, Kevin Vallejos. So, yeah, I think Blackshear could go a bit overlooked, and if he has the performance I think that he can have against Cody Gibson, he could end up with a very good DraftKings score, a quiet, 105-point win. So that's kind of how I'm hoping this one goes. If not, 80, 90 points is not going to do it. So we're not going crazy for GPPs for Blackshear, but I think Cody Gibson is definitely worth a look for those big tournaments. All right, Alexander Hernandez, Kurt Hallah. I mean, who asked for this fight? Let's see. I got to pull up the numbers. I can't read that. Minus 210 for Alexander Hernandez, plus 180 for Kurt Hallah. My God. I mean, I've seen people say Alexander Hernandez is not losing this week, but I still don't know how you could be laying minus 200 on him. The over is minus 200. Fight goes minus 170. The DraftKings salaries here, I'm not going to forget this time. Hernandez, 8,600. Kurt Hallah, 7,600. And Hernandez has not been looking great lately. He is 2-4 in his last, 2-4 in his last 6. And honestly, his 2 wins over Jim Miller and Austin Hubbard. 65 points against Austin Hubbard. Ouch. 79 against Jim Miller. Ouch. Before that, I mean, he's putting up decent scores against guys like Mike Breeden. Remember him? Chris Gritzmacher, 111 points. Those are his only 4 wins out of his last 10 fights. And I'm just not impressed by what I've seen lately. Let's see the performance numbers for Hernandez against Hubbard. 5.2 strikes a minute. No takedowns landed. 40 seconds of control time. Like I said, 60-some points. Jim Miller, 7.2 strikes a minute. Pretty good. No takedowns landed. No control time. Okay amount of points. Nothing crazy. Bill Algeo, 5 strikes a minute. Damon Jackson, 2 strikes a minute. He is just so up and down and just does not do anything. He hasn't landed a takedown since Billy Q back in 2022, and that is the only takedowns he's landed in the last 10 fights outside of Drew Dober. He was 3 of 6, and that was way back in 2020. Meanwhile, Kurt Hallah has 2 UFC wins. I mean, this dude fought 4 times, then got cut, lost all 4. Now he's 2-1, beating Austin Hubbard and Kanan Krzyzewski. But he made Trey Ogden he made Trey Ogden's DraftKings score look like Merab Dvalishvili. Like, this dude landed 3 takedowns, controlled him for 11 minutes, dropped 190 non-significant strikes on Kurt Hallah. What an awful, awful performance. But then against Krzyzewski, Kurt landed 6 strikes a minute, a takedown, and 5 minutes of control time. So a decent rebound, but still. I mean, this is a shit fight, in my opinion. I'm not going to talk about it too much longer. I'm picking Alexander Hernandez, probably by decision. If he wins by decision, he scores not even 70 points, 15% under the lightweight average. Even his DraftKings points per win is not even 90, 5% under the lightweight average. For Hallah, when he wins, it's pretty good, 101, 102 in decisions, 101 in finish wins. But, maybe some Hallah based on that. But what did I say his salary was? 7,600. That's too much, in my opinion. Maybe it's not actually. Both of these guys are pretty bad. Hernandez, you cannot trust whatsoever. Not only to not win a fight, but to put up, or to win a fight, but to put up a decent DraftKings score. So, yeah, not really looking forward to this one at all. I hope it goes to decision. I'm picking Alexander Hernandez. He should win, but my goodness, he just looks so mediocre lately. Kurt Hallah has that bad defense. We'll see if Alexander can exploit that at all, but I'm thinking 3-round decision, low-scoring fight for Hernandez, and I'll look to get value elsewhere. Although 8,600 is my favorite salary, I don't know if I can do it this week. Next fight, Kevin Vallejos -600 taking on Seungwoo Choi +425. The over 1.5 rounds is -140, but the fight ends inside the distance, -325. DraftKings salaries here, I believe Kevin is 9,100. That is correct, and Seungwoo Choi is 7,100. Now, Seungwoo Choi 1-4 in his last 5, beating only Jarno Aarons. Kevin Vallejos beat Cam Teague in the DWCS, lost to John Silva, but had a decent performance. I mean, since John Silva's coming to the UFC, he's become John Silva, but back then we didn't know John Silva was John Silva, and Kevin Vallejos had a pretty decent fight, landed almost 5 strikes a minute, no takedowns, no control time, got taken down once, but was controlled for only 9 seconds, and got, 5, almost 6 strikes a minute landed on him. So it wasn't a crazy John Silva performance by any means. And then now we can assume Vallejos has only gotten better. So not a ton of stats for Kevin. What we do know is that he is 14-1, 10 pro knockouts, 2 professional submissions, and he has not been finished. His one loss did go to decision. It was a unanimous decision. If you're curious, let's talk about Seungwoo Choi, because this dude, like I said, 1-4 in his last 5. His numbers are not great. 3.8 strikes in the first, 3.6 in the second, and then 2.9 in the third. His takedowns go up barely from 0.23 on average to 0.35 in the third, and then the control time does go up from 30 seconds to 1 minute to 1:30 in the first, second, and third. But that's about it. If he's getting pieced up, there's no chance any of that is going to happen. And guess what? Seungwoo Choi does get pieced up, guys, in his last 4 fights. Steve Garcia knocked him down, of course. 1.5 minute finish. Jarno Aarons knocked him down. Still got the win there. Michael Trezano, remember him? Finished this dude in less than a round. 2 knockdowns for Trezano, and then 2 knockdowns for Josh Kulibao. Seungwoo Choi's been knocked down 6 fucking times in his last 4 fights, guys. And what did I just say about Kevin Vallejos? 10 knockouts out of his 14 wins. Yeah, this guy is like basically a must-play in DraftKings, in my opinion. I know I hate saying that with prospects, with guys that are making their debut, but at least he has more than 10 fights. He's got 15 fights, 2 Dana White Contender Series fights, 1 against John Silva with a decent performance, and now he's got a guy in Seungwoo Choi who's 1-4 in his last 5, and he loves getting knocked out. So, yeah. Kevin Vallejos, probably my favorite play on the card, and he's only 9,100. I say only because this dude could look like the biggest favorite on the entire card, like -1,000 type favorite type shit. So, yeah, give me Kevin Vallejos. I don't trust Seungwoo Choi at all, even against a prospect. I'm probably full fading him, and that's how I'm going to play this one. Kevin Vallejos, 9,100, could have tremendous value. Probably my favorite play on the card. Hopefully it does not come back and bite me. God, I hate trusting prospects this much. Co-main event of the evening, we've got Elizeu Zaleski Dos Santos taking on Chidi and Kuani. Dos Santos -200, Chidi +170. The over 2.5 is -240, and we don't have any props on this fight yet, and I don't know why. Was it announced super late? I mean, it's been on Tapology for days. I don't think it's been added late. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. 8,400 for EZS and 7,800 for Chidi and Kuani. Look, we all hear Chidi and Kuani's name and we think of fights like the Gregory Rodriguez fight. We think of him knocking people out like Dushko Todorovic, Marc-Andre Barrio in 16 seconds. But then he lost 3 in a row. Then he moved down to welterweight, and now he's a decision fighter, ? Split decision with Reese McKee in which he scored like 60-some points. Let's look at the exact number, 63. It's even worse than I thought. 0.5. Did score 100 against Jared Gooden. ended up having a decent outing there, but he was able to stuff 6 takedowns in that one. Ended up with 9 minutes of control time there. A lot of it, I think, was cage control time. Got to go back and look. But Chidi and Kuani in the clinch is one of the best fighters statistically that we have seen. His clinch striking offense is very good, and by proxy, his body striking offense and even his leg striking offense, very, very good. Control offense good as well, just no takedowns. The strength of schedule is very poor for Chidi, whereas Elizu Zaleski dos Santos, the stats are a little bit more tempered, but the strength of schedule is a lot better, as he's been fighting, outside of the Zachary Scroggins fight, late notice replacement, and he did what he was supposed to do. Dispatched this dude in like a minute. Close fight with Randy Brown. Draw against Renat Fakhretdinov. You could say he could have won either of those fights. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, he won that fight, but that's because he was playing video games with Mighty Mouse, according to Habib Nurmagomedov, and the famous BSD win as well, where he just beat the shit out of Benoit Saint-Denis, 10 strikes a minute, and the ref just wanted to see Benoit Saint-Denis get killed that night, I guess. I don't know what the deal was. Zaleski improves his striking, takedowns, and control time in every single round, starting 3.5 strikes a minute, ending at 5 strikes a minute in the third. We love to see it. Almost a full minute of control time. Look, bottom line for me is Zaleski dos Santos is extremely durable. He's got very good cardio. Like I just said, he's improving his statistical offense from round to round. His defense, allows 3.6 in the second, 3.5 strikes in the third, but his takedowns and control time do get better defensively every single round. Chidi, a lot of people are going to be rostering him because they think Chidi and they think knockout, but that's not how he's fighting these days, guys. It's just not. He's much more conservative, going to decision, and I don't think I see a difference here with Zaleski dos Santos. 2 keys to victory for Zaleski: don't get your head taken off in the middle of the ring, octagon rather, sorry Dana, and don't get your back on the cage. Chidi, like I said, works fantastically inside the clinch, inside the distance, and Zaleski needs to do his best to not get pieced up there, because Chidi, while these guys are both welterweights now, is the much bigger fighter. 4 inches of height, 7-inch reach advantage. So Zaleski really going to have to point fight this guy, in my opinion. I'm picking Zaleski dos Santos by decision. Chidi is probably good for GPPs, but Zaleski never, ever scores well. In fact, when he wins by decision, 68.5 on average. That's 19% below the welterweight average. So not really looking forward to that. I think he's fine in cash, but maybe still a slight fade on Zaleski, even though I'm picking him to win. But at least he's 8,400. Not too expensive. We did it, guys. Final fight of the night. Main event. Hit the like on this video. Subscribe to the DFS Army channel. Be sure to check it out in a few days when ownerships are released. Roman Dolidze taking on Marvin Vettori, the rematch no one asked for. In fact, Marvin Vettori, when he signed the contract, read it so fast he thought it said Roman Kopylov. So he was just as surprised as we are. Minus 150 for the Italian, plus 130 for the Georgian. Fight ends inside the distance, plus 155. And the over 4.5 rounds is minus 220. Well, let's look at the first fight, I guess. Marvin has only had one fight since the Roman fight, and he got murdered by Jared Cannonier. Went all 25 minutes, but got hit with 241 strikes, 4 takedowns, 3 minutes of control time. Jared Cannonier scored a metric ton of points on Marvin Vettori in that fight, and that's the last time Marvin's fought. That was back in June of 2023, so basically 21 months. In that Roman Dolidze fight, 106 strikes from Vettori. That's pretty good. 7 a minute. No takedowns. 0 seconds of control time. 57% of the strikes went to the head, 8% to the body, but 36% leg kicks. Roman landed 4.73 strikes a minute, which is much better than his average. Shot 1 takedown, had 14 seconds of control time, and that was about it. I mean, Roman's had 3 fights since then. Lost to Imavov, beat Smith, beat Holland. How much are those wins worth? Not sure. But Marvin Vettori probably much more sturdy than Anthony Smith and Kevin Holland turned out to be. So neither guy, actually that's not true. Vettori scores very well in wins. 104 per win, 116 in finish wins, and 101 in decision wins. In fact, DraftKings points per 5-round fight for Marvin Vettori, 107.27 on average. So 4 times out of 9, he's gone over 110 points. We love to see it. And now he's 8,200. So 5-round fight. I think this is a viable cash stack. It's not a crazy, make sure you stack this in cash 100%, but I think it's definitely viable. Roman Dolidze, a much, much worse score overall. Let's see. DraftKings points per win, 98. Not terrible. Decision win is 86. Also not terrible, but the numbers just aren't where Marvin Vettori's numbers are. He put up, Dolidze, 115 in Holland. That was a round 1 finish. 81 against Smith. Let's see, 83 against Jack Hermanson. And then a few, decent scores and finishes. So if he's not getting a finish, Roman Dolidze is not scoring well. And in order to get a finish, I believe 4 of his 5 UFC finishes have come in the very first round. Is this correct? Yes, one of them came in the second. So yeah, he's going to have to get it done early, or he just looks like he's not doing anything. He just kind of throws a couple of strikes a minute. He'll shoot a takedown every once in a while, but if he doesn't get it going, Roman Dolidze does not pay off his salary, even if it's a dog salary. So I think Marvin Vettori has the higher ceiling for DFS. I am picking, probably stupidly, Roman Dolidze to win. I just think he's made improvements since the last Marvin Vettori fight. 21 months off does worry me for Marvin Vettori. Coming off of that absolute beating from Jared Cannonier does worry me from Vettori, but we know he is durable no matter the beatings that he's taking. Neither one of these guys has ever been finished. So again, a reason to stack this one up in cash. Winner could score 40, 50 points, or sorry, loser could score 40, 50 points. Winner could score over 100 if we're lucky. So it could be viable. That's probably what I'm going to do for cash. But yeah, give me Roman Dolidze. I just think this one's going to go differently. 3 out of 5 rounds, I think he's got it. Maybe even 4-1. So, yeah, both of them have defensive holes. Both of them are extremely durable. Neither one's been finished. I'm going with my guy Roman to get it done by decision. And that is going to do it, guys. All 13 fights for UFC Vegas 104 is in the books for DFS Army. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get on over to dfsarmy.com. Be sure to check out the abundance of sports that we have. Check out all the packages that are offered. Guys, you got to start winning in DFS, and the way to do that is to listen to those experts. Those guys are fantastic. Tons of articles, tons of breakdowns, tons of must plays. You got to get over there and see it, man. DFSarmy.com. And I'm very happy to be able to bring you the stats for UFC Vegas 104. Best of luck this week, and it only gets better from this card on out. We'll see you in the next one.